Vomit here, 2015 Loudwire Music Fest, and we're sitting here with Mr. Rob Zombie. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time. Totally appreciate it. All right, so you finished mixing your latest album about 6 months ago. Definitely a product you've been really, really excited about.
Yes.
Is it difficult to wait on something like this for a release?
Not really. I mean, I would like to put it out sooner than later, but I have this idea that I really want to make a visual component that goes with the album.
Oh, cool.
You know, and I don't have time yet because I'm in the middle of editing my movie. So I didn't want to just throw the record out there and there's no videos, there's no nothing. So I'm like, I'd rather just hold it and do it properly. And so that's really that's really the only reason. I mean, it's nothing else. I mean, the record's done, which is kind of nice because we recorded the record over a really long period of time, like a year. But we weren't in the studio every day. Like we'd work for a couple weeks and leave for a couple months and come back, and you really gave you time to live with it. Where like, because one of the things you do sometimes, when you just go in the studio and plow through a record, and at the end of it, you kind of go, that last track's kind of bullshit, or oh, I wish we'd cut that part down, you know. But with living with it for a long time, it really, I think it made the record so much better.
Cool. Thinking of these new songs, is there maybe a prediction for like the next fan favorite?
Yeah, there's a song called "Well Everybody's Fucking in a UFO" that I'm not even kidding, which I think will be that's going to be the new big song that we have, amongst other ridiculous stuff.
Very good. So I spoke to you a little while ago, and you were talking to me how once you finish a very large project, things like a film or a tour, that you like to kind of distance yourself from it after it's finished. It's like, okay, let's not think about that right now.
Yeah.
Is it the same process with an album or not so much?
Pretty much. I mean, I finished the record and went right into making the movie. So, you know, John would text me, "Oh, the record sounds so fucking good," or somebody, and I'd be like, "I haven't listened to it in months, John. I mean, I remember we finished it and I loved it, but I'm just on to the next thing, and I haven't heard it in a while. So yeah, I'm just, because there's always something else, and I can't worry about that when I'm doing this. Just like I had to shut down editing the movie to come out and finish these tour dates, and I haven't even been thinking about it. You know, I'll get back to it next week, and then I'll fall back into it. But yeah, it's too hard to. I just have to shove it away while I'm doing something else.
And you were saying earlier that this record was mainly penned by yourself and John. So when it comes to John, is he like kind of the more the guy in the studio who's really looking at every little bit and piece, and he's sort of filling that role while you can be a little more casual about it?
No, I mean the way we really do it is we'll just lay out really loose structures, like really the songs kind of always we piece together something pretty raw, and then we'll let it sit, and then I'll usually do vocals over that, because until you put the vocals in, it's really hard to know where it's going.
Character-wise.
Yeah, you just don't know, because sometimes a riff that sounds super exciting is really difficult to sing over, and then something that sounds like nothing, once the vocal hook gets on there, is really catchy. So you really don't know where it's going. Once I get the vocals in there, then usually John will come back and they'll add another layer where he'll then play guitars that go along with the vocals or accent things. So we kind of just keep bouncing back and forth.
And for your next film, 31, really exciting news is that you got Malcolm McDowell on the movie, like a true legend. When you're working with someone like him, what kind of things do you learn from going through the process with someone like him?
I don't really learn anything from him in the sense that, because he's an actor and I'm not an actor, so I can't pick his brain or anything. I mean, I've worked with Malcolm now 4 times. I've made 3 movies and 1 TV show with him. So, you know, he's just a friend now. I feel, you know, I mean, on this movie, it was a small part. There wasn't a lot of money. I just called him. I was like, "Oh, Malcolm, I really need you to come do this thing. You know, it's not a big budget thing. There's not a lot of money." He was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, I'll come down." He didn't even really know what it was. He just said he would do it. And really, when we're together, we just bullshit about stuff. We don't, you know, I mean, when I first met him like 10 years ago and we'd be on set, we would talk about like Stanley Kubrick and different things like that that I was interested in, and he'd tell me, you know, we'd discuss things in minutia that you wouldn't normally get to hear any other way, because most of the time, you know, who else was there at that moment on Clockwork Orange? You know, Stanley, who's gone, or Malcolm. So Malcolm tells you what went on, which was really things that you could never get away with now. And it was just really interesting. Like, you know, he would tell me that when Stanley couldn't figure out what he was going to do, he would tell Malcolm to pretend to be sick so they could shut the set down. while he would go away for a week and figure out what they were doing. Which now, you know, the studio would come in and shut the whole project down probably, but just interesting things like that.
Is that where the famous Singing in the Rain thing came from? Because I know that was kind of done on the spot. It wasn't really planned.
Well, it was. The funny thing with that, it was meticulously planned in the sense that I asked him about it. He goes, we shot that for a week. But what would happen is we'd come in, we'd do the scene. Stanley would hate it. So he'd rewrite the whole scene. He'd change the whole set. He'd change everything. We'd shoot it again. He wouldn't like it. And they just kept, you know, I think he said they did it 7 different ways. I think that's what he said. And Singing in the Rain, he just wanted Malcolm to sing basically any song.
Yeah.
That was one he knew. And, well, I mean, who knew it was going to become this iconic moment?
Yeah.
But Malcolm tells me a funny story. He was at a party once back then, and Gene Kelly was at the party, and he went up to meet Gene Kelly, and Gene Kelly was just super pissed. Because he, you know, I mean, think about it. Singing in the Rain was this this big, wonderful song that you used to think about as happy guys in love. He's dancing in the rain. And now you think of it as like this like teenage thug is beating the shit out of some old man and raping his wife. So Gene Kelly, needless to say, was not thrilled about that.
Wow. I'm so glad you told me that. That's super interesting.
We would talk about.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. And you got a new Groucho Marx film that's going to be in production already, or?
Well, I mean, right now what's happening is I'm finishing 31. 31's in post-production. I got to edit. We got to do the music. We got to color tone. There's a lot of work left on 31. But what's happening with Raised Eyebrows, the Groucho movie, is Oren Moverman is writing the script right now based on Steve Storyler's book. And Oren just... you know, he just has a new movie out. He just did the Love and Mercy, the Brian Wilson movie.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he got an Academy Award nomination for The Messenger. And he had done, you know, so he's a really top writer. And he's coming in to adapt Steve's book. So that's great.
Yeah. As a creative person, I think that no matter how big you get, no matter how successful you become, there are always going to be those people who you put up on a pedestal and say, well, you know, no matter how skilled I am, I'll never be this person. You know, if you have any, who are those people for you?
Well, I mean, I don't really think that way, because I think as soon as you think that way, not that I don't respect people.
Sure.
I don't mean it like that. I mean, of course, there's tons of people I respect, be it in film or music or whatever, you know. But I never like think of it that way, because you have to feel like you are here to destroy everybody. Because I see people that are too in awe of other people, and I go, you got to get that out of your system. You know, it's like, I love Alice Cooper. I grew up on Alice Cooper. Alice is my good friend of 20 years. But if I'm playing with Alice Cooper, my only job that night is to try to destroy Alice. Which he would say the same thing. That's the mentality you have to have. But it doesn't mean I don't think, I mean, I love Alice. And I, you know, Love It to Death is one of my favorite records of all time. But, you know, kill your idols, man.